Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy with Cichlid Bros. In today's video, we are talking about Geophagus species, which are incredible South American cichlids with very unique sand-sifting behavior. Some of them get awesome coloration and fin extensions to them. And in today's video, we're going to try and narrow down a top 10 list, so we'll see if we can. Let's dive right in. So there are many different types of Geophagus species, and Geophagus can be broken down into geo meaning earth and phagus meaning eaters. They are literally earth eaters that sift through your substrate, getting uneaten food and kicking up debris. It's a very interesting behavior to watch as they sift that sand through their mouth and through their gills, and they're also cleaning your substrate, so it's a win-win. But because of that really cool behavior, I would recommend keeping all the fish we're about to talk about on a sand substrate so they can demonstrate those natural behaviors, but also so they don't damage their mouth and their gills. If you have gravel or coarse substrate, that could definitely do damage, so just keep that in mind. But before we get into the list, there are many types of earth eaters out there. There's the regular Geophagus species from South America. There is the Gymnogeophagus, which comes from a little further south in South America, in Uruguay particularly. There's the Satanoperca, the aquarists, and there's just multiple subcategories within the earth eater species. But we're really looking for the best looking, the coolest color patterns, fin extensions, dorsal fins, and also their personality and how awesome these fish can be. So we're going to start with some honorable mentions before we get into the list. The first one being the Bolivian ram, which is technically a micro Geophagus altospinosus, and they're amazing fish, very hardy, cool coloration, but they're not technically a geo or demonstrate as much sand sifting behavior, but it's an awesome door cichlid that I would recommend. Also the Aquarists, Hecali, or the albino Hecali, or the threadfin acara. It's a very popular fish in the hobby today. I absolutely love them. I had an albino Hecali for a long time, but because they're not a true Geophagus, they've been reclassified and they're mistakenly called a geo many times, and they don't really interact with the substrate quite as much as some others on the list. It narrowly missed the top 10. I also really like the Geophagus winemilleri that didn't make the top 10. And then two Gymnogeophagus species I absolutely love. First is the Rhabdotis, which I did keep a while back. It has some purples and blues in its body, which is really cool. And also the Gymnogenes, which would be on this list if they were more common. I've been looking for them forever. It's definitely a bucket list fish for me. So coming in at number 10 on the list is the Geophagus argostictus, or the blue lip Geophagus. And this is a really large specimen that I saw at my local fish store about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's always stuck in my mind as one of my all-time favorite species that I've seen. And when they reach this stage, they are truly impressive. You can see the teal to blue lip coloration and the pattern on its body. Truly a stunning fish, and like I said, it's been in the back of my mind for a long time, and I think I'm going to be getting a group very soon. And then number 9 on the list is the Gymnogeophagus terrapurpura. This is my group in a 40-gallon breeder tank that I've had for about 5 years now, and what's really cool about them is because they come from the Uruguay area where there are very cold winters, you actually don't need a heater. If you do keep them with the heater, their lifespan shortened and they probably won't breed quite as often. They need those colder periods, but they also get some awesome color patterns to them. You can see the fired up male in here. I've really loved watching their behavior in this tank as a small group. I had them in here with panda cories and some green fire tetras, and they did great for a long time. And they don't get very large, about 3.5 to 4 inches, and you don't need a massive tank for them or that heater like I said, so it's a really easy fish to keep and I've really enjoyed them. Coming in at number 8 on the list is the Satanoperca jurupari. This is another fish that I had for a very long time, about 6.5 to 7 years, and I really loved its peaceful nature. Its gray body shape with the spiked dorsal fins was really cool. Most of the Satanoperca species get that spiked dorsal fin. There's also the Satanoperca daemon that has that 3 spots along its body, which is very cool, and the Satanoperca leucosticta, which has a little more spotting and coloration on its gill plate than the jurupari. But nonetheless, all 3 are great, but the jurupari, because it is so peaceful and it is an awesome sand sifter, that's why it's coming in so high on the list. Number 7 on the list is the Geophagus steindachnerii, which is also known as the red hump earth eater because the males obviously get a red hump on their forehead. The females get a little red coloration, but not much of a hump, and the color pattern along their body is a little more interesting with some blackish, greenish coloration splotches along their body. But the Steindagneri is known to be one of the more aggressive Geophagus species. In general, most Geophagus are not too aggressive, but the Steindagneri can be. That was my experience as well. I had a female that reached about 8 inches in length, so it got pretty big, and it did bully around some of my other South American cichlids a bit, but in general they won't be quite as boisterous as some other big aggressive cichlids out there most times, but they're also a really good sand sifter, very active in the tank, so it's a really cool fish to keep as well. Number 6 on the list is the Geophagus abialos, and this is footage from our friends over at Psyche, and this is a beautiful specimen. I really love the fin extensions and the color patterns along their fins that they get, and they're awesome at sand sifting like most on the list, but they're just really good at keeping your substrate spotless. Like you can see here, they're great with some of those mid to large size South American cichlids, and they get a little bit bigger than some of the other Geophagus, so you can definitely keep them. You just need a little bit larger of an aquarium. Number 5 on the list is the Geophagus brasiliensis, which is sometimes called the pearl cichlid because of that incredible color pattern along its body, the shimmering teal and green and yellowish color that comes along its body. It really sets it apart as it starts to mature. When they're younger, they have a little less color and kind of like a black stripe down their eye. But brasiliensis are great because they can withstand a lot of different water parameters. Most of the Geophagus need softer water and lower pH, although most are adaptable in the hobby today. I actually have high pH and hard water, and all Geophagus have done well for me as long as they're tank bred. But the Geophagus brasiliensis especially is really adaptable to different water parameters and temperature. I've even seen some people keep them in outdoor ponds. If the water gets down to about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, at times they can even withstand that. But the typical temperature range for them is usually around the 70 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit. But another thing to note about the brasiliensis is they can be a bit feisty or aggressive. I would say similar to the Steindagneri, these are the two on the list that are known to be a bit more aggressive, so you may need to watch out for that or just keep a larger aquarium to be able to dissipate any aggression that might come from the brasiliensis. But either way, as adults, you can see they're just truly beautiful Geophagus species. Coming in number 4 on the list is the Gymnogeophagus balzani, and I actually had one of these a few years ago. I had them for I think about 3.5 years. I didn't do the simulated cold temperatures for him, and I think it accelerated not only his growth rate, but also shortened his lifespan. So they're another Gymnogeophagus that kind of requires that simulated cold season to live a longer and healthier life. But the balzani definitely has a place in my heart because this was such a personable fish, really beautiful colorations. I felt like every time I looked in the tank, I saw some different colors on its fins or in its body, and it was super peaceful. The males will get a bit of a nuchal hump, and they get pretty large, about 7 inches, so it's a really cool fish with a lot of interesting behaviors and color patterns to them, and I think I'll definitely be getting another one here in the near future. Number 3 on the list is the Geophagus altifrons, which is a magnificent Geophagus, especially as they grow and reach their maturity. Just incredible fin extensions and color patterns. This footage here is from our friend at Trev's Tanks, and we will leave the links down in the description below, not only him but also Psyche for supplying the footage for the video. But the altifrons, as you can see, awesome colorations. I don't know if this can really be beat except for maybe number 1 on this list, maybe number 2. The altifrons is known to be a slow grower, but once they reach that adult size, it's one of the best fish you could ever keep in the hobby. To go along with the fin extensions and the tail coloration, you have that awesome sand sifting behavior, so I would definitely recommend the altifrons. Number 2 on the list is the Geophagus pyrocephalus. This is probably the most popular Geophagus species in the hobby today. Sometimes they're called the redhead tapajos or the Geophagus tapajos, but it's been reclassified to the pyrocephalus, and they get amazing red coloration on their head, greenish, bluish splotches down its body, and the fin extensions, absolutely incredible. And they don't get too big, only about 6.5 inches for the males. The females maybe about 5.5. And you can get a group of them, maybe put them in a 75 gallon or a 125 and have a really cool group of Geophagus. They have really interesting dynamics between the males and females, and to see them breed is really interesting because they are mouth brooders that take their eggs and their fry into the mouth to protect them from others in the tank. This is another one that's known to be a slow grower. I got mine when they were tiny, and it took about 1.5 years for them to really start getting that red head and to get some of that color pattern along its body. But about 1.5 to 2 years in, it's well worth the wait because these guys can be absolute showstoppers in any aquarium. But even with all those amazing fish, they do not compete, in my opinion, with number 1 on the list, which is the Geophagus sveni. Absolutely incredible coloration on them. Depending on the collection point, yours might be a little more red, a little more silverish. They have an awesome spiked dorsal fin, and they get really nice elongated fin extensions, so they are just absolutely breathtaking fish, especially once they start to reach their maturity and get that awesome color. I currently have a pair in my 150-gallon aquarium here, and they've started that breeding process. I've gotten some fry, but being a relatively large cichlid, getting up to about 9 to 10 inches, they are really peaceful most of the time. I would say one of the more peaceful Geophagus that you can find out there, especially for their size. Even going through the breeding process, they kind of pushed away tank mates, but they really did not fight. I also have one in my 500-gallon plywood aquarium that is probably my most beautiful fish that I currently have, not only with Geophagus, but with all the cichlids down here in my fish room. I absolutely love that guy, and because I got all those babies that are growing out in a different tank, I'm always going to have Geophagus sveni down here in my fish room, and that's why they are coming in at number 1 on the list. So I hope you enjoyed the list today of our favorite Geophagus species. If I left any off the list, definitely leave those down in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.